Swiper. You don't have to
I can't do that. But you can yap and say numbers don't matter. All this stuff doesn't matter. He's better. He's still better than Wemby. I don't think Wemby's been better because I don't think he's been better. I don't think he's been better. Therefore, he's not better. And somebody brings up the numbers. The numbers are wrong. Somebody brings up blocks. The blocks are wrong. He's 7'4". He's 6'10". It doesn't make any sense.
That's not what I said. You just don't understand ball unless we are talking.
Right, there you go. Right.
Because I laid it all out to you. Like I laid it out to you like I explained it to a child, and anybody can understand what I was saying.
Sure. Again, anybody except the people up here apparently. How is AD not having a better year than Wemby so far? What are we doing?
I'm sorry, we're just on both sides of the ball.
Yeah, we're just not watching the same sport. But respectfully.
So you guys all think Pat's been the Knicks' best player?
I do personally, yes. I think it's the play. As you know, the playmaking and the initiating is Brunson. So I also would typically lean that way. I just think Cat's arguably been the best finisher in the league, like across the board this year. And I think what he's added to them as a defensive rebounder as well has been that important. But you can really say he's Anthony Davis, but the flip side of AD, in that he's offering so much value offensively right now. And in his rebounding, I think you can make an argument for him, but I also wouldn't be upset about Brunson. Brunson's also been incredible. Like, they have 2 All-NBA players in the roster. And both of them, I think, make second team All-NBA this year. That's how good they've been.
And what about OG Anunoby? Swiper.
He's not making All-NBA, but he's been good. He can get All-Star votes.
He will get All-Star votes. He's on there. Yeah. But yeah, I got Wemby on my first team. So yeah, there's that.
I'm
pretty confident.
I wouldn't be surprised if Wemby made first team, but I think Cat's gonna make first team All-Pro this season.
Does Cat finish the year like this, you think?
Yes, I do.
I'd expect him to.
Barring any injuries, I think he does finish this season. Like, because
who could sneak into it then, Chill? That's like that could turn their play around, or maybe they move up in the standings. And
Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis.
Anthony Davis is already in these talks.
No, he's not.
Yes, why is he not? Why is he not?
Okay, so number one, Wemby. Both Wemby has clearly been better on the defensive side of the ball.
Not even a question. He's
clearly been better than.
But that doesn't take away Anthony Davis's value defensively.
Yes, it does.
It does not take away his value defensively.
Yes, it does.
Well, his value defensively has just been lower than normal this year. Although the last 8 games, whenever Max Christie got put in the lineup, his defense has been getting back up to close to his level. So I mean, he's getting there. AD will probably be all defensive level by the end of the year, but he hasn't been so far. Like,
he has not been, Ron.
The first 2/3 of the season,
that's what his calling. Sure, absolutely.
No, sorry, go ahead.
So, and to my point, Ron, that's who Anthony Davis is, and I've said this to you in the past. Anthony Davis is a defender who can score, and his calling card is his defense. When he's elite on defense, everything else falls into place. He hasn't been elite.
He's been elite offensively.
No, he has not, Ron.
But the thing is, but Ron, the fact that Wemby is able to give you the interior scoring in a much different way, but he's still he's the best finisher. Can we agree he's the best lob finisher in the league?
Yeah,
who, Wemby?
Yeah, I think him, AD.
AD's actually the one I would say is debatable. Yeah,
him, AD, Giannis, and somebody
finishes.
Yeah, I mean. Just respect. I'm just gonna say it name real quick. You don't have to put him in the conversation. If you can zoom back.
Okay.
I think Evan Mobley's in that conversation for
Evan too. Jarrett, both of them.
Yeah.
The thing is with Wemby though, Ron, Wemby legitimately is like a good shooter, not a great shooter.
Yeah,
good shooter. And the fact that you get some, I'm not just some, but like really legitimate level of floor spacing with him, and you get none of that with Anthony Davis. Like no off the dribble creation for the most part. Like you do get some, but with Wemby, you have to worry about where he is on the court. They're
not about to give Wemby a first team vote over Anthony Davis because he can dribble the ball from the 3-point line. That's not.
He's a better offensive player all around. Is what I would argue.
How is he?
Ron, he's been much better this season, Ron. Getting to the rim, stopping pop game, playing at the long ball line, getting on the offensive glass. He's been much better than Anthony Davis on the offensive end this year.
I'm not arguing that
that's not including the defense, right?
That's what I'm saying. Though
you're not arguing that AD's better offensively. Wemby's also better defensively. So is there a middle part of the court that I'm forgetting?
No, here's what I'm saying. Like he might be more skilled offensively. That doesn't mean that you're giving me more production and that you're playing better offensively.
But he is.
Once again,
that's what's going on, though, Ron.
He is playing better. He's doing
I mean,
better.
I think
Yeah,
y'all
that's
just
actually what's going on.
you guys are just flushing 26 and 11 down the toilet.
No,
Yeah,
I'm not.
okay,
Not at all.
this is what
I-
No, I'm not
Well,
at all.
let's make it clear. We're talking about offense. The 11 rebounds are not all on offense, so that's not relevant.
Well, I'm talking about
The
in
11
totality.
rebounds
Because I
is
was
not
talking about
offense,
defense
so-
too. I'm talking about in totality.
Well, you don't want to talk defense with Wemby. Wemby's gonna win.
But I acknowledge that. I said just because Wemby's here doesn't, just because Wemby's great doesn't take away from the fact that Anthony Davis is good. That doesn't.
Yeah, no, AD's good. Wemby has a substantial gap defensively this season.
Okay.
This season.
So that
This
so
season
we're
in
already
particular,
starting. We're already starting the race with Wemby in the lead. So AD has to make up for that with an offensive gap that he
We've
doesn't.
already established that he's not better offensively.
And to be clear too, to make it more
we
harsh
didn't
to my-
establish that. The only thing we established is that Anthony Davis doesn't dribble the way Wemby does.
No.
And this is
I
why-
just said
this
he
is
was
why
a
I've been
better.
tight at y'all
He's a
because
better
y'all-
3-level scorer than Anthony Davis.
That
which
doesn't
matters.
get you on first team all
Yes,
all
it
NBA.
does.
because-
Yes, it does, Ron.
No.
So if that's
So
the case,
he-
Paul George would have been first team every single year.
No,
this
What?
is what I be
That's
talking
not-
about.
who said that?
Just
That's
because
not-
you're a 3-level
Ron is-
scorer
Ron
does
is
not
saying-
mean
Ron
that
is
you
saying
are
you
going
can
to
be
get the
more
nod
skilled.
over somebody
Ron
else.
is saying you can be more skilled, but not as overall effective and produce more. So what is Anthony Davis producing on offense that Wemby is not?
26 points.
Wemby's
It,
what?
my thing is, it
What's
doesn't.
Wemby
No,
averaging?
but you got. He's averaging 25. But here's my thing, though. Here's my thing. Mars, I'm not talking about the gap. I'm just saying you guys are literally just taking him out the race and saying that he doesn't have a horse in the race. And I'm trying to ask you guys
As
why.
of right now,
Hold on, Ron. Wait, Mars, chill. I want to make this clear. Anthony Davis doesn't have an argument over Cat. He doesn't have an argument over Cat for me right now, let alone Wemby. So, like, you didn't even go to the next person that I would say had a better argument. Anthony Davis has not been better than the man in New York this year. The man that's in New York currently, right now, playing for the Knicks.
I kind of disagree. I've been watching AD this year, and AD been balling this year.
And that's
in the same gap that you guys are saying with Wemby and AD defensively, that the gap between AD and Cat is bigger than that.
Yeah, and that's why I think Wemby's over Cat, because Cat's been egregious defensively.
Right.
So
exactly.
I understand that. My
He's
issue
always
is,
been bad defense.
are you genuinely telling me the difference in offensive production is 1 point? And that's why you're saying so.
No,
what is AD doing on offense that Wemby is?
What do you mean? What is he doing? It doesn't.
Exactly
That's the
the
point.
question.
The point I'm making is
What
it doesn't
Ron is
matter.
arguing.
I'm saying
I can see
you
what-
guys
I
are
see what Ron's
debating
arguing.
looks.
No,
You guys
what
are
Ron-
debating-
No,
what-
I'm saying
what-
production. Take
Okay.
away eye test. Production.
Right.
What is
And that's
AD
what-
doing on offense that Wemby is not doing?
That's what Ron is at,
Production.
and that's what Ron
Forget
is.
eye test. Forget watching these guys play.
Sure.
Apparently that's not relevant to this conversation. That's fine. What is AD producing on offense that Wemby is not?
Ron's argument is what AD is doing right now, he should not be out of the conversation. Ron's logic is that we just pushing Wemby to the front of the line, right in front of AD, and we shouldn't even be having a conversation about that, considering what Anthony Davis has been doing, both offensively and defensively. Even though my counter to that, Ron, is Wemby has been better, both on the offensive and defensive end, not just from the eye test. Not just from the eye test. Mars just ran off numbers. 18 games. Ron, we're barely 2.5 months into the season. 18 games, that's a month. So that's basically half the season. So if the season ended today and Wemby ending the season going 29, 11 and a half, was it 11 and a half, Mars, did you say?
10 and a half, I think.
Okay, I'm sorry. So 29, 10 and a half, which is 11, 4 and 4 blocks on 50, 40, 87. Wemby is a first-team All-Pro.
Yeah, I mean, if he keeps that up,
100%
obviously. But I could have said the same thing with AD in the first 2 weeks of the season. If he would have kept
Could've said
averaging
that in the
30
first
and
2
doing
weeks,
that,
only
you know
we're
what?
not in the first 2 weeks, Ron.
Okay,
We're
and
way past that.
and where we're at right now, I'm not just gonna say Wemby has just lapped AD.
I had to look it up because I was curious. So AD's average, we're gonna do raw box score numbers because I'm not gonna get into anything advanced. AD's averaging 26 points per game. Wemby's averaging 25 and a half.
Right.
So the difference is half a point. AD is doing that on 60.4% true shooting. So pretty good. I think that's like +2, +3 true shooting. Wemby's on 60.6. So slightly more efficient, but marginal. So the difference appears to be 0.5 points on basically the same efficiency where Wemby, by I think even Ron's own admission, has been a better passer, a better playmaker, and has more offensive responsibility.
I don't know if I would say more offensive responsibility. I don't think I would say more offensive responsibility.
Okay, so
what?
So you have more.
Ron,
This is a real question, by the way. Does Anthony Davis
have way more
offensive-
responsible? Wemby has way more responsibilities offensively. If he ain't scoring, they ain't doing nothing.
If AD's not scoring, they're not doing nothing.
Austin Reeves, also Austin Reeves,
and AD's offensive responsibilities leading his team in the
Austin
playoffs.
Reeves and LeBron James. Austin Reeves and LeBron
The
James.
Spurs are 2 games back of the Lakers. The Spurs
still 2 games back.
The Spurs. Are we not?
They still 2 games back.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
So we just going to ignore like relative expectations?
And I mean, two games back is it makes it sound better than what it is. The Spurs are 16-16, which they have improved and they've actually overexceeded expectations. The Lakers are 18-13 in the 5th seed, and they're knocking on the Dallas Mavericks door for the 4th seed. And they're trending this way too.
No Luka for a month. I think
I'm pretty sure the gap between the Lakers and Dallas is the same as the gap between the Spurs and the Lakers. So if the Lakers are knocking on Dallas's door, the Spurs by the same logic.
Listen to the record. No. You're looking at the games back. Listen to the record. 18-13, 18-13, 16-16.
Yes. 2 games difference.
2.5 games.
Maybe. Yeah, 2.5. And what's the gap between Dallas and LA? Is it 2.5?
1.5.
Okay, so a game difference. Like the Spurs are knocking on the Lakers' door. By the same argument, the Spurs are knocking on the Lakers' door. This is why I don't like the seeding argument in this Western Conference when 5 through 10 are separated by 2 games. Like you're using the seeding to make it sound like it's more drastic than it is. It's a 2-game difference for the Spurs and the Lakers. Like, let's be serious. It's the Spurs and the Lakers, and they're only 2 games apart. And Wemby's doing what he's doing. And we have to remove the eye test to make this more favorable for AD. Like, what are we doing? Like,
Yeah,
Wemby's
I mean,
better.
like I said, I just don't like the fact that you guys are just dismissing Anthony Davis. Like he's not having the season that he's having. That's my main argument. That's my main argument.
I think he's not playing better than Wemby. He's having a fantastic season. And I've been singing AD's praises on this show for as long as I've been here. He hasn't been better than Wemby this season, especially when you factor in the fact that he's had a major defensive fall off for the most part. Now, in the last 2 or so weeks, he's improved defensively. So if he gets back to that defensive level, then we can revisit the conversation. But he hasn't so far. And the fact that the Spurs, with Wemby on the floor, have a better offense than the Lakers with AD on the floor is quite intriguing, considering the.
It shouldn't surprise anyone, by the way.
Not necessarily, though. Like once again, like the Lakers aren't all that spectacular.
What are you talking about? They're
better than the Spurs.
What?
They are better than the Spurs.
I'm not arguing that. I said they're not. No, I'm gonna do what you do. I didn't say that. Don't say what that I didn't say. I said they're not all that spectacular. No. But the reason I'm saying
spectacular to be better than the Spurs.
Okay, I get that. The point I'm making is he's still not working with like the best of the best. Like, yes, he has Braun. He has Braun.
No, Ron, you're stuttering. Ron, you're stuttering. Ron, you're stuttering. You're stuttering.
What does that have to do with anything?
Austin Reeves, LeBron James, and that team has been very good offensively.
And after that,
they've been a very good offensive team this year.
That's what they have.
They have a very good offensive team this year. I would even, and again, if you watch the Minnesota Timberwolves game, Wemby's still developing. He has a lot. He has a lot to work on, 1,000%. But their offense at the end of the games is Chris Paul and Wemby. Make it work. That's exactly what they're running. The issue is that getting Chris Paul gave them their first real initiator, their first real playmaker, and real passer. So I think the issue is that you're making an argument for Anthony Davis and him not having this like whatever team around him. Well, neither does Victor Wembanyama.
No, and
his team is worse than that Lakers team.
What's understood doesn't have to be explained. We know that the Spurs.
But you're only making the case for Anthony Davis though in that instance.
Here's because before you guys cut me off, I was about to get to my next point. That I actually think that the Spurs are a little better than we give them credit for. Now, that doesn't mean that they're an immaculate team. That doesn't mean they're great. But Harrison Barnes, and I've watched the Spurs this year, they actually are a little more competent than their 16-16 record is actually very indicating of who they are. You got Harrison Barnes. Obviously, Chris Paul has been good. He's fourth in the league in assists right now. Devin Vassell, you guys always sing his praises. Keldon Johnson's been good this year. Jeremy Sohan, I keep mentioning him. He's been good. Like the Spurs have been a solid team this year. And the pieces around Wemby, like obviously Wemby's been great. Wemby's been incredible. But the pieces around him have actually looked competent. Am I wrong?
Quick side note, Ron. I ain't appreciate Devin Vassell throwing Jaden McDaniels in the basket like he did last night. I ain't appreciate that at all. I did not. Just making him look weaker than he is. I'm like, wait a minute. This dude's like 6'9". How is this dude just muscling you? But anyway, let's get back to what we were talking about. Ron, I think the point that needs to be made is as good as Anthony Davis has been early on in this season, because this season is barely we're third into the season. How good he's been in the first couple of weeks. What Wemby has been doing, to Mars's point, these 18, close to 20 games, which is over a month, it surpasses what Anthony Davis did to start those first 2 weeks.
So can I then ask the question? And Penn, I would like for you to be the first to answer this. If based on what we're seeing right now, and Wemby's just clearly better defensively, the eye test will show us that, and he's better offensively, the eye test will show us that too. Is Wemby better than Anthony Davis?
Yes.
Can we just say that?
He has been this season, yes.
There's a difference between playing better and being a better player, Ron. Those two things are not the
Like
same.
there's one
player?
panelist
That's
up here who had Wemby as a top 10 player coming into this season. You know who that is?
Penn had him at 6.
I had him at 6, so I had him higher than you. There's no way in hell you had him at 6.
I'm pretty sure I said I'd probably have him top 10. I didn't agree with 6 though. I know.
Mars, you said before the season was over.
At 10.
Mars, you said this in the summertime. You said before the season's over, Wemby's going to be a top 10 player. You said that.
I know. I had him top 10, but Penn had him 6. So you got to I'll give Penn his flowers for that. Penn had him 6.
If he's better than AD, then he's close to 6.
He's not better than AD, Ron.
No, but
I don't think
he's
playing.
He's not better than AD.
Playing better. Yeah.
But
I wouldn't even agree on that.
I don't know if he's better than Anthony Davis, because AD is better. AD is capable of being better defensively than he has been this season. So I'm not going to say Wemby's better. I'm not going to say Wemby's better than Anthony Davis, because I know AD is capable of being better than he has been. But this season, he's played better than Anthony Davis, and I don't think that's really a conversation.
Why are you acting like AD's not playing great right now?
No, that's not the no. We're not doing that. No,
I don't like what you said about you said that right now Wemby's surpassed how AD started the season. I don't even agree with that. Like AD's been playing amazing this year on both.
I just don't think.
But go ahead. I'm sorry, Penn.
And it takes, and it's like with remember we were talking about. Now, I don't want to. Matter of fact, I don't want to bring him up because that's going to derail things. But I think what AD does to get his points or whatever. So if we want to go towards the stats, like he takes out a way less chunk of the offense. Like it doesn't. AD don't need as much as Wemby does to get the 25 he's averaging and the 20-60 he's averaging. Sure. It's a whole lot less. It's a whole lot less strenuous on the offense for him to get his numbers than it is for Wemby. You know what I'm saying? Like,
but with that,
I really don't think it's. I mean, yeah, it's close. Okay, let me not say that it's close, but I got.
And with what you just said, Ox, Anthony Davis's calling card, and this has been his calling card throughout the course of his career. He's a defensive player who can score, and with him being the defensive player that he is, he dominates games defensively, and then that gets compounded by how good he is as a scorer, as a lob threat when he's in the mid range. He's not doing that on the defensive end, so that's taken away from his dominance all around in the game. Meanwhile, Wemby, being the rim protector that he's been, right, being the rim protector that he's been, and being the paint presence that he's been. I feel like what that's done, in addition to now him cracking the long ball, him playing in the mid-range, him playing in transition, how much better he's been there. I think he's moved past Anthony Davis.
Wemby be getting cooked and then get 4 or 5 blocks. It's like, oh, he's the best defense. He's getting cooked and then getting blocks. Anthony Davis is playing solid defense all throughout. Maybe not the numbers don't look as nice.
Right,
but Anthony Davis is still a hell of a defender. Y'all can't compare him to the defender he was 2 years ago, last year, year before that, and then say that he's not a great defender because he's not living up to what he once was doing. He's still a top 3. That's what I've been hearing. He's still a top 3 defender in the NBA.
Has he performed like a top 3 defender in the NBA this season?
Maybe top 5, sure, whatever. He's still a hell of a defender. He is still a great defender. It might not be the same defender he once was, but he is still great. And like I said, Victor Wembanyama be getting cooked on defense and then gets 5-6 blocks, and we forget all about it.
You're saying what I said. When AD's capable of being better, like we know he's one of the best defenders.
I'm not talking about what he's capable of. I'm talking about what he's doing. He's still a great defender. He still plays great defense.
Not this season.
AD in my opinion is the best defender in the NBA because of the skill set, the tools, everything he has, and in terms of a playoff setting, I think he's great. This season, and I guess we might have to have this conversation, especially the early start of the season that people are praising the most. AD has not been performing at that level defensively. Some of it's scheme, some of it's Lakers personnel, some of it is the plantar fasciitis he's dealing with, and some of it is just on him. But AD has not been performing like the best defender in the NBA, especially early on in the season. But I'm not going to then say AD is not the best defender in the league because I know that AD is capable of more. But what I'm also not going to say is that AD has been performing like the best defender in the league or a top 3 defender in the league when I don't think that's true. And I'm curious, and I'm going to ask Ox, this season, how has Anthony Davis performed like a top 5 defender in the NBA?
I mean, first, Mars, you don't got to slow talk me. I understood everything you were saying already.
No, I was talking for the chat.
I wasn't. Okay, I wasn't saying that I think AD is playing like the best defender in the league. I wasn't even saying he is the best defender in the league.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was me saying that. That was my opinion.
Right. Okay, well, see it. So I'm just saying I think he's still playing great defense. I think he still provides everything he once provided, just not necessarily at that level. So, like, if you're talking about like specific things, being able to, being versatile, being able to switch out, being able to play solid on the block, all the great things AD's always been capable of doing, I think he still does, but maybe just to a little bit of a lesser degree. You know what I'm saying? I think everything is still there, and if it is scheme, that's fine. If that's what coach wants, and you got to take that as a player. You know what I'm saying? But I still, once again, I think he still does everything. Like his ability to switch out, his versatility, moving his feet, staying solid on the block, protecting the basket. He might not get as many blocks as Victor Wembanyama, but I mean he's not 7'6", but still, you know what I'm saying? I think he still does all of those intangible things on defense. You know what I mean? I still think like as a guard. And it would be a lot better if he had some guards that could stay in front of their men. But as a guard, if I got AD behind me still today, I'm good with that. Like I got AD back here. We got a solid anchor. So maybe he's not a top 3 defender. If you don't want to say top 5, that's fine. But I still think he's a great defender. And I still think he's playing. I still think he's playing. But I'm not. And so let me not say he's still a great defender. I still think he's playing great defense today. It might not be what he was doing last year, the year before, and the year before that, but AD is still playing great defense. I'm there because I can't keep supporting any Lakers players. You know
I can appreciate that. And Ox, that's where the line is, because when you have a guy in what Wemby is doing as the rim protector that he's doing, and now this is becoming the standard. I mean, the narrative on Wemby is him being the defensive player of the year, and what Anthony Davis has done as a defensive player, that's his standard. So when it gets lower, of course, it's gonna be eye popping. That doesn't take away from him still being a great defender. I won't argue that. He's still one of the best defenders in the game. Because he's having a down year defensively does not take, because we don't do that with anybody else in terms of scoring. If Luka goes from 35 a game to what he did before he got hurt, which was 29, that doesn't take away from how good Luka is as a scorer. I still think he's the best scorer in the game. But with that being said, there might be somebody that's having a better year, more efficient, better in the mid-range, better in transition. That doesn't take away from that. I don't think that we're taking away from what Anthony Davis does as a defender. But this year, what the standard has been for Anthony Davis, he hasn't lived up to that. Meanwhile, we got a young guy in Victor Wembanyama who's now showing progress. Don't get me wrong. He still has a lot to work on defensively. But the stuff that he's good at, Ox, he's really good at it.
He is. I don't even know if Victor Wembanyama is a better defender than Anthony Davis.
I'm not sure he is neither, Ox. But what I am sure of is this season, I think he has.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean too. That's what I mean. I don't mean, but that's what I mean. I don't even know if Victor Wembanyama is playing better defense than Anthony Davis. I think
He
he's
is.
getting more blocks.
Oh,
I think he's getting more blocks.
No,
you know
hold on.
what I'm
But
saying?
why?
I think that's about that. He's
why
of everything else. I'm like, what is he doing?
This is what I get. This is what confuses
Yeah,
me about this.
I feel like
Because
reputation
why is it that reputation carries so far? And if
Who
I
said
bring
my reputation?
but if I bring actual numbers to the table to
Who
support
said anything about reputation?
why one player is clearly outplaying the other in defensive end, why that will get thrown away? Because
What
it's
numbers,
like,
Swiper? Go ahead. I'll listen. What numbers?
the rim protection numbers, the defensive
blocking
field goal
shots?
percentages. No, you don't have. No, it's not even shot blocking. It's just deterrence at the rim. Like, it's just how the team performs relative to when you're on the court.
How do we measure deterrence at the rim?
You can just measure like the amount of shots.
How do you quantify deterrence at the rim?
You can measure how many attempts are allowed at the rim. You can measure how effective people are shooting around the rim when you're within 3 feet, 6 feet, all those different kind of things. Those numbers are all listed. You go to NBA.
And that's directly. And so, Swiper, going to the basket, you might have a big there, but that's not the only thing that taught me going to the rim. What about the guard? What about the person that's guarding me? What you know what I'm saying? What all these things come into consideration when we're playing a basketball game that don't come into consideration when we're talking about these numbers. That's the only reason. Sometimes I push them aside. Like, yo, that's not that doesn't correlate. That doesn't correlate as when we're talking about numbers. They need to be like math. It needs to be exact. I can't have numbers and it be estimations or what we think is going on. Like math has always been what it is. 2 + 2 is always 4.
He blocks twice as many shots. Does that make it easy?
Yes, Pin, and that's my point right there. Thank you, Pin, because like I said earlier, you might block more shots and still not be a better defender. Like if we're playing right, let's call it 20 possessions, right? In 20 possessions, if I have 0 block shots, but I've been moving my feet, cutting you off, playing you all the way to getting my hands up, and it's hard for you to shoot over me, and you in 20 possessions, I play great defense and I got 0 blocks, but you in these same 20 possessions, you might get cooked 8 times. You get 8 layups, but then I get 6 blocks. I'm a better defender than you? Hell no. Nah. That's not how it works. That is not how it works.
I didn't bring up blocks at all. I think that at some point in time, you have to be able to accurately say that this player, and this is why Anthony Davis, this is why the conversation is so interesting to me. It will never matter how good the Lakers are defensively on the floor with him, because he's never going to get the blame for why the Lakers are getting destroyed at the rim for the most part, especially early season when he was on the court. He'll never get blamed for that, because I think in the other end, Wemby, the reason why people will say, well, the reason why the numbers are better with Wemby because he's 7'4" and this, and this. And I'm saying I'm not bringing up blocks. I don't think blocks is an accurate stat of like defensive value. Rudy Gobert doesn't get a lot of blocks. Bam Adebayo basically gets no blocks. I think he's the best defender in the NBA from regular season to playoffs because of what I like, versatility. I think the issue with Wemby is Wemby has clearly, to me at least, been the more impactful defender, the better defender. If you look at just the raw numbers or look at like the net rating stuff, like that stuff all still points Wemby. And I think even if you watch some of these basketball games, Anthony Davis is just not having the same effect in the paint as he has traditionally, at least prior to the last 2 weeks. And people were saying personnel, but I actually don't think that the Spurs have a better personnel defensively?
Yes, they do.
No.
Yes, they do.
I don't know.
In the Lakers?
So
yes,
Jeremy Sohan and who?
Yes,
Yeah,
Jeremy Sohan, Stephon Castle. Chris Paul is still. He might not be the old Chris Paul. Hold on, wait. Just listen to what I'm about to say. Listen to what I'm about to say. Chris Paul,
Harrison Barnes,
as a quarterback. Just as a quarterback in general, you be here, you rotate there, and just keeping a level of expectation. Chris Paul in that vicinity is a good defender. Now he might not be the old Chris Paul where I'm cutting you off, I'm taking the ball from you, but just
shout out to LeBron, man. LeBron a good defender.
No, because, and I'm glad you said that, because it's a clear difference between LeBron and Chris Paul. And
no, it is not, Ron.
And also too, AD has to make up for all LeBron's deficiencies.
And so does Wemby. He's got to make up for all of those other guys. What are you talking about, Ron?
Ooh, what other guys are we talking about?
He don't got D'Angelo Russell over there. Well, AD don't know.
And even LeBron no more.
He has not played a game without D'Angelo Russell until now. Until their next game.
Where would you rate Max Christie as a defender from A to F? Where would you rate?
I think y'all hype Max Christie as
C-. I'm
asking you a simple question.
We can't even give
Max Christie as
we can't even give Max Christie credit.
Okay. How about Cam Reddish? Where would you rate him?
Cam,
How about
Nehemiah.
Austin Reeves? What's high? That sounds like a C plus. That's what that sounds like to me.
They have a bunch of C and lower defenders over there.
So a bunch of C and D guys.
There's no listen. If we were to go through, let's go, and we're gonna do the top.
Cam's a good defender.
I think he is.
Cam I
do. I think
if
everyone else, however,
if we went through the top 75 just defenders, like we're gonna do players later this week, we would get into the 60s before we even considered anybody in the Lakers outside of Anthony Davis.
I don't know if that's true, but like I'm not mad at that as an opinion. But I think Max Christie and Cam Reddish are positives on defense. And on the Spurs, I think Sohan.
So I personally think that Ron thinks that Rudy Gobert
Castle's not a better defender than Max Christie.
Ron thinks Rudy Gobert had the best defensive season of all time in 2020. Is what I'm hearing. That's what I'm hearing. That Ron thinks Rudy Gobert had one of the 3 or 4 best defensive seasons of all time in 2020. That's what I think you're saying, which I'm cool with.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, because he had no positive defenders on his roster. No positive defenders on his roster that year. None. And they were the number one defense in the NBA. He had none. None.
He had Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell.
That's not my logic.
I think Dorian Finney.
Well, you just brought that up. You're bringing up personnel now.
I'm talking about.
Well, Swiper, don't you think that Rudy Gobert had a hell of a defensive season that year? I'm fine with.
Yeah, but they were also the number 1 defense in the NBA when he was on the court too.
They were bottom 5 in the league when he was off the floor.
I think that's my point. Like,
so what I'm saying, you said that to Ron as if you were saying like Rudy Gobert didn't have a historic defensive season that year.
But the issue is the numbers bear it out for players like that, and you can see it and you can look at it and say, "Wow, best defense when he's on the court in the NBA. When he's not on the court, big difference." I'm saying
but
that's just not the case.
I'm not trying to go to war with the numbers. That's not what I'm trying to do. But what I'm saying is, even if you didn't have that number, if you didn't have that statistic to say, "Oh, well, when he's on the court, they score this much, and when he's off the court, they score this much," you can still see that.
Right.
Well, I'm saying with Anthony Davis, you're not seeing that. You're not seeing it with AD. Is the problem, though.
So you're telling me you're not seeing a difference in defense when he's on the court than you do when he's off the court.
I'm not gonna lie to y'all, man. Like Anthony Davis, relative to who he is, was not having a good defensive year up until a couple weeks ago.
Just say relative to good and bad defense.
No, don't.
Relative to him, not relative to good and bad defense. Relative to him.
Why are we doing that? Why are we doing that? Swiper, you can't, you don't have to
I can't do that. But you can yap and say numbers don't matter. All this stuff doesn't matter. He's better. He's still better than Wemby. I don't think Wemby's been better because I don't think he's been better. I don't think he's been better. Therefore, he's not better. And somebody brings up the numbers. The numbers are wrong. Somebody brings up blocks. The blocks are wrong. He's 7'4". He's 6'10". It doesn't make any sense.
That's not what I said. You just don't understand ball unless we are talking.
There you go. Right.
Because I laid it all out to you. Like I laid it out to you like I explained it to a child, and anybody can understand what I was saying.
Sure. Again, anybody except the people up here apparently. Anybody except the people up here apparently. So Anthony Davis, you can make an argument. It's your eyes, but Ox's basketball eyes. You can make an argument that Anthony Davis. I think he's playing better defense than Victor Wembanyama this year, even though they're getting scored on consistently and all the time with AD on the court.
Scenario that
I gave make any sense.
Was as simple as I can make it. The 20 scenario, the 20.
But it's a bad scenario. It's a bad scenario. As simple as that.
But that's what's happening.
Okay, so Ron and Ox are saying personnel. It's all dependent on the personnel you have on the roster.
I mean, he can't guard 5 people.
Got you.
He can't guard 5 people. He got an older, less athletic team. Like the Spurs just clearly have better defensive personnel.
They do. The Spurs, shout out to the young fella
because Victor Wembanyama is great. He is great, and he's only going to get better.
The Spurs have such good defenders.
Shout out to the young fella though, for sure. This isn't a Victor Wembanyama hate session. I'm just trying to lay out the reason why I think AD is a better defender.
Look, the Lakers have the number 2 defense in the NBA the last 8 games. What changed? That's what I'm saying. What changed? What happened before that? What happened before that? That's what I'm saying. So, like, all that stuff, none of it mattered. Now the numbers matter. Because I bring up the numbers before that, and they were mid to bad.
You brought it up and said it mattered.
Are you having a conversation with yourself? Like, are you arguing with yourself?
Brought the number up.
I'm clearly responding to the chat. People are saying that the numbers didn't matter when the defense was bad when he was on the court. Now they're better with him on the court, and now it's a different. Sure, okay, I got it. So numbers didn't matter before
I
that.
didn't know you was talking in the chat, bro.
It's never going to matter. That's what I'm saying. It's all going to be selective. The thing about defense is more predicated on how you feel about somebody than anything else. That's why people can blame Rudy Gobert for all this other stuff. It is. It factually is. Because if you're telling me you said Victor Wembanyama, you said Victor Wembanyama gets scored on all the time. I'm saying, well, AD gets scored on all the time too. But I would never bring that up for AD, why he's not a good defender or why he's not an elite defender. There are other things you could measure to determine how good the team is when they're on the court defensively. It's just that simple. That's just really what it is.
It's the player choice way. Yeah, them boys don't get it started. The player choice way. The player choice way. Come and switch lanes into the player choice way.